this example, we're going to graph this sinusoidal function, and we're going to name all the important parts as we go through here. Let's see, amplitude. Amplitude is determined by what I'm multiplying by out in front. So my amplitude is 3. If I had -3 out in front, my amplitude would be 3. Amplitude is a distance, so it's always positive. Period. The period of a generic sinusoid is 2 pi, and then I'm going to divide by whatever is multiplied by the x. Well, I have x over 2, which I could write as 1/2 times x. So the thing that's actually being multiplied by the x is a 1/2. So my period, 2 pi divided by 1/2, which is the same as 2 pi times 2. My period is 4 pi. So it's going to take 4 pi. It's going to be a stretched out version of a cosine. It's going to take 4 pi before it starts repeating itself. Phase shift would happen if I had plus or minus something inside the parentheses here with the x, and I don't. So I have no phase shift. I'm going to start in the usual place and end in the usual place on the y-axis. Vertical shift would be if I had something added or subtracted out here, which I don't. So it's not going to shift vertically. Domain, the domain for any sinusoid is all real numbers. We can run into some weirdness if we have 1 over x or something here, but we're not going to see those for our purposes right now. The range, well, the range of a normal generic cosine x function is -1 to 1, but my amplitude is 3. So I'm going to stretch that. My lowest y value will now be -3. Highest one is +3. And that's the end of the list. So now we just need to graph. Label max, min, and midline points. You can put them as actual points, x comma y, or just make sure your axes are labeled at the appropriate places. And I'm almost always going to do it that way. Here we go. Okay, this is a cosine. Cosine has, and it didn't shift up, down, or left, right. So it's going to start on the y-axis at its maximum, which is 3. It's going to go down at some point to its minimum, -3. The period is 4 pi. That's when I'm going to start over. I'm going to split this into 4 equal pieces so that I can line up my points. Halfway in between here is 2 pi. Halfway in between 0 and 2 pi is 1 pi. Halfway between 2 and 4 is 3. And now I can put in my important points for the cosine. A cosine function has a y-intercept at its maximum. Then it goes to 0, minimum, 0, or the middle. Anyway, it doesn't have to be 0, but the center. And we know the shape of a cosine function has that sinusoidal shape. Make sure it looks nice and sinusoidal. They do not look like V's in spite of how the points are lined up. And there it is. There's my graph of my function.